guy. Am I everyone? I'm every woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all in you.
I'm every woman.
Welcome
It's
to
all in
Bacon
me.
is My Podcast.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Woohoo.
I know it's December, but we're
Yeah.
here in October.
Right.
So
It's actually Halloween right
It's
now.
Halloween
Yeah.
today, right now, as we speak. But with the children, it's Halloween weekend.
Yes.
It's an extravaganza of epic proportions.
It is indeed.
And I got to do trunk or treat. That was overstimulating as fuck.
Trunk or treat, for those of you that are wondering, is where you decorate your trunk and you go to a school and hundreds of children run around trying to get candy from you.
I will say, bravo to some of those parents who made their trunks. Like there was one that was Ghostbusters theme, and it was like containment unit, mobile containment unit.
Nice.
And they had like a little box where you'd put the trap,
right?
But it was a little Slimer like bouncing around, and you were like, "That's it. That looks like a TV in there.
Wow,
that looks awesome." There's a Jurassic Park one. There was a Under the Sea one that had a lot of Little Mermaid stuff. There was a Boy Scout one, which I felt really uncomfortable with. But yeah, it's cool, like hanging out with the kids, doing the whole Halloween thing, seeing it through their eyes, and the whole weekend just them being like, cool, I could just knock on a door and get candy.
Right.
That's pretty sweet. So yeah, that's been pretty cool. I
told you earlier, I noticed a lot of kids today, not in costumes, just going up the doors, being like, yo, give me candy. And it's like, you didn't put any effort into this. I'm not putting any effort into this.
So
here's some soap. So
one thing I will say about this year is a lot of it is bowls on porches. And I kind of went with that too, because I got a big old blow up Halloween dinosaur on
it's
my
a cool
yard,
dinosaur.
Right. I'm out trick-or-treating with my kids.
Right.
So the last thing I want to be is the person with the Halloween decorations and the hands coming through the dirt and stuff like that.
Right.
And not be there with decorations or not be there with candy.
Yeah.
So we did do the bowl on the thing.
I live in a basement apartment, so I can't give out candy. My only
don't sound so sad.
Well, I thought about buying a bunch of full size candy bars and then putting them out with a sign that just says "Don't be a dick," but you only put out 10 of them, right? So word gets around. You got to get to that house early, and then at the end of that 10, oh, dude, you're out. You're out of luck. That house is awesome for about 5 minutes max.
Yeah.
And so everybody goes there first.
You don't get it.
I don't get it because I don't have kids.
You don't get it.
I don't get it.
You would be egged the rest of the night.
I wouldn't be egged the rest of the night because I rent.
Understood.
Now, Halloween at my house, what my mom used to do was she would put out this creepy scarecrow, right, for about 2 or 3 hours for all the little kids. And then it would have a bowl in its lap that said, take one. And they would come up and they would take one. And then she would dress up as the scarecrow and sit there with the bowl that said, take one, and scare the holy blue hell out of anyone that tried to take more.
That's amazing. I love your mom.
Yeah, which I think is fantastic. I think
your mom is great.
So Halloween to me is how do I do that? How do I do a trick of some kind with a treat of some kind if you do the right thing?
Yeah.
I'd like to put some kind of bear trap that only snaps if you try and take more than one thing.
Well,
take one.
now you don't have two hands.
Take one, you keep your hand. Take two, you got less hands.
I love this. I love this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, so we just played the fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw our new sponsor next to us at the fair.
Right.
Right? Any of you that have ever been to festivals, one of the coolest spots to go to is that spot that's selling you sodas where the copper mugs.
Oh, they're the best.
Wild Bill's, dude.
Yes. And you don't just have to go to a fair to get their stuff anymore. You can go to drinkwildbills.com and they'll send it right to your house.
They sent that ginormous box to us.
Huge box of stuff, and it made me realize that Wild Bill's isn't just soda.
Yeah, I thought it was at first, but man, the jerky and
nuts and coffee.
Oh man, snack foods, coffee, everything.
And if you go there now, drinkwildbills.com, use the promo code BACON, of course, and you get 10% off.
Oh, dude, check it out. Stick with us because we're going to be letting you know how that coffee tastes. We're going to be doing some tasting episodes on literally everything in the box.
Yes.
So stick with us. But, dude, you've had it. You've been at fairs. I've bought it. I bought that mug. It's awesome. I love it.
And now, again, we're heading into the winter months. It's going to get a little colder. No more fairs. Just have it delivered right to your door.
Drinkwildbills.com.
Yeah.
Easy for me to say. Once.
It is December.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
It's not Christmas, but you know what is approaching?
New Year's?
The BIMP Awards.
Yes.
In 1 month's time, we will be honoring those who have joined us on the show this past year plus, end of 2020.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Yeah, agreed. Here we are, having our very first
soon-to-be coveted
BIMP Awards, and you can see who wins the coveted Golden Gnome. Yeah.
It's exciting.
I'm
excited.
We've got polls up at patreon.com/
Bacon is my podcast.
Bacon is my podcast. And you don't have to be a Patreon to
yeah, exactly.
To participate.
If you're not a patron, that's totally cool. Just go to patreon.com/ bacon is my podcast to be able to vote. While you're there, if you decide to check out the Patreon, cool, check it out.
Yeah.
If you decide you want to help us out,
some fun exclusive content that we had already given to our patrons.
Yeah.
Some of our tastings, some of our cooking with, live streams that we do, all that good stuff. But head over there, vote for your favorite guest, vote for your favorite 7 questions, and on January 3rd, see if they win.
Yeah.
We've got musical guests. We've got guest presenters.
We're going to play music.
Yeah. I mean, maybe even a new song.
Possibly.
Jim, what else do we have to talk about here before we get into our sweet interview?
Well, we should probably talk about our interview. I mean, Steve Mazan's.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome, world-renowned comic. He's appeared on Letterman. He has a great documentary called Dying to Get on Letterman.
Dying to do Letterman.
I'm sorry. I said that wrong.
Agreed.
But
Steve is great. He's a very funny dude. We were really hoping to get this as an in-person thing.
Yeah, it was so close.
But unfortunately, COVID screwed all that up. But maybe one day. Till then, this will just have to do.
I will say, and we don't talk about it at all in the interview, and I think that's kind of by design.
Yeah.
At one point, a number of years ago, Steve was diagnosed with cancerous growths.
Right.
And they were inoperable, and he was told that worst case scenario, you got 5 years. And he decided at that point to start focusing on what mattered to him, And one of his biggest thing was like, and it's a quote that he said that we actually don't talk to him about in this interview, was that someday isn't on the calendar, right? Like we all have these goals and these things that we put off to someday, and someday doesn't exist. All that exists is right now. And he even says in his TED talk, we're all dying, every single one of us, at different times. And so if you approach life like that and you say, I'm not going to leave things to someday, I'm going to make things happen and make goals and make things work, you're much better off, because then you're living for something, then you're going to sleep with a dream already, then you're like all these different things. And we honestly don't talk to him at all about it, just because we were having a fun conversation and it didn't really seem like it needed to go into that at all.
We're hanging out with a friend.
But just for some backstory on him and why his documentary is important and why his TED Talk is inspirational, and what kind of motivated him to really kick himself in the ass and start doing all the things that he's doing at such a high level was that. And though we don't talk about it, you can find a million interviews with him about that specific thing online. If you go on YouTube and you go Steve Mazan and you find it, there's 100 conversations that he has about that with people. We don't have that conversation, but I just wanted to let you know that conversation exists.
Yeah. My relationship with him exists is through that conversation. So my mother has the same neuroendocrine cancer that he does. And, you know, he was one of the few celebrities, people with a profile that stood up and said, yeah, I have this and I'm going to continue to live and I'm going to be a spokesperson. And without getting like too, you know, into everything, head to netcancerawareness.org because it's important to me. Obviously it's important to Steve. So just educate yourself on that. And man, I'm not going to get too into the weeds on that.
Well, yeah, I know we could and everything,
we keep it light.
But it's like we are keeping it light. But I do think it's important that we actually put that out there and mention that.
Absolutely.
And like I said, we don't talk to him about that, and that's kind of by design. Like I didn't necessarily want to steer things that way, and clearly we didn't talk about it, but you didn't either, you know, and he didn't either, you know, because it's like that's not the thing that's interesting about him.
Right. That's what needs to inspire people.
Exactly.
He's making his living as a comedian. He's doing something he loves. He's writing, he's being a podcaster, and he doesn't let that define him. Yeah. And that is my favorite part about this.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Like, we're not defined by our deficiencies. We're not defined by our weaknesses. We're not defined by where we struggle. We're defined by the things we do, because those things motivate us to do more. And I think that's important.
Indeed.
So, check out this conversation, not really an interview, but check out this conversation we had, because it's awesome. It's funny. It's fun. And he's a good time, and it's a good time. And we are definitely going to have him back on again. And we are definitely going to do it in person with him. And
probably not in this.
Probably not in this spot. Probably not in this spot.
But it might be at a Marriott somewhere.
Yeah.
Which would be cool.
Yeah. When we take Bacon Is My Podcast on the road.
On the road.
But for now, here's Steve Mazan. When?
Now.
What did everyone dress up for Halloween?
So my daughter, she was Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Nice.
And my son, I'll just show you the picture real quick here.
Ooh.
He was riding a dinosaur.
Oh, awesome. What a cool costume.
Yeah, so it was like one of those blow up ones that it looks like you're riding a dinosaur.
Yeah, I love that.
And the best part was he was it last year, and this year he was like, "No, that's a really cool costume. I'm going to be that this year too." And I was like, "I love you, son."
That's great.
Yeah.
Don't have to buy another costume.
So,
Awesome.
Yeah, we won.
What were you, Steve? Were you anything for Halloween this year? Did you dress up for any events or
I
anything?
did it. There was nothing that came up this year. I almost ended up doing a show on tonight.
Yeah.
And I would have. I have my go-to, like your son. I have a go-to costume. It's one of these zip-up ones I found, and it's basically Rocky Balboa. It's like got his
Nice.
his championship belt and everything on it. So
Yeah.
that's the one I go to. That's in the closet. That if I ever need it.
Is it the black and gold trunks or is it the red, white, and blue?
Red, white, and blue? Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the Rocky 3, I guess.
Rocky 3, 4,
Nice.
Yeah.
It's the Creed.
not 5.
The Creed trunks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody goes for Rocky 5.
Well,
No.
Tommy Gunn, man. No, that was
Yeah,
Tommy Gunn.
yeah, Tommy Gunn.
Do you have a costume this year? Did you have anything ready? Did you do anything?
I ordered because I was going to be so originally we were supposed to go out to what was it last night?
Last night.
And what I wanted to be was Ron Burgundy,
Mm-hmm.
and then I told Jen last week, and you'll laugh at this, Steve. You'll get this, but I was like, cool, like I'm going to be Ron Burgundy. I'm going to have to shave the beard, and she hates when I shave the beard because
really?
I did it once when I was Mario. Super
Right.
Mario,
Right.
and she's like, I can't look at you. You look like your father. And I was like, well, you wanted to be Mario and Luigi.
Good
that's
old
that.
Bob.
So on Friday last week, she was like, wait, what? And I said, yeah, I'm going to shave again. And I'm Ron Burgundy. So I need the mustache. So you're going to have to deal with it. And she's like, oh no, but we were hanging out with friends and they were like, no, you don't have to shave your beard. You could be Ron Burgundy after he says, go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Right.
And so that's what I was going to be, but we ended up not going.
You were going to be
see.
You were going to be hot milk Burgundy.
Right.
Right.
Milk was a terrible choice.
It's so damn hot.
But actually, funny enough, that the shirt, I actually got the shirt that he wore, like the T-shirt with the guy with the beer bottle and the thumbs up. But it's not coming till Monday.
Oh,
even though it was like a $10 shirt and I paid $20
to Russia
next day air.
Right.
And
I was Jeffrey Lebowski.
Yes.
Well, I was the dude. I wasn't Jeffrey Lebowski. I was the dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
His dudeness.
El
Duderino. If you're not into the whole brevity thing. So I was the dude at a couple of different events.
Steve, he had like the
I grew the full.
Like,
nice.
Yeah.
It was marvelous, and I'm so upset
That's why I have this like kung fu movie beard.
I like that. Anyways, that works without the dude.
You know.
Did you have the White Russian with you?
Oh yeah, I had White Russians all night. Every event I went to. I'm a bartender, so I bartended one night as the dude, and my co-bartender was Bunny Lebowski, which was fantastic. She was in a green bathing suit with just nail polish, and she was like, "I'm Bunny Lebowski," and I was like, "You're gonna get us so many tips," and I was the dude, and then I did one other party where I brought my own White Russian, my Caucasian drink mixes. And I just made them all night, and I just had them all night. Hell of a Caucasian, Jackie. Hell of a Caucasian.
I don't like it. That's what's special about Halloween, right? It makes you go against some of your things. Like usually you don't like being scared. You don't like being frightened about things. And on Halloween, you kind of like it. And same thing. I don't like couples that wear a shirt that shows that they're a couple just any other day. But I love it when two people dress up in tandem on Halloween. And come together like
I
that,
do too.
You and your bartender.
I was trying really hard. Our 1 year anniversary of this podcast is
tomorrow.
Pretty much right now. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So for listeners, it was a few weeks ago. But I was trying really hard to get us to do an event where we were going to do like a bowling event with our patrons. and with our local ones anyway.
Yeah.
And we were going to do a bowling night, and we were going to go because we did a watch along of The Big Lebowski with our patrons.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, I'll be the dude, and I wanted him to be Walter because he'd be a fantastic Walter, and we were gonna go like in character the whole night.
Yeah.
And when I do Halloween, like I go method, like I go full method.
Well, that's why I asked about the drink. I was like, all right, did you just costume it or did you go full in?
Oh no,
you
full
are.
on.
I mean, at the watch along, we drank.
We did White Russians. I did a how to make a White Russian
right prior to,
and we did the watch along with the White Russian.
Fantastic.
By the way,
we're already in this episode. By the way, we don't need to.
We're freeforming it.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, we have comedian, we have podcaster, we have Emmy Award winner, writer, cool freaking guy,
dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Mazan. What's going on, man?
Thanks for being here. Yeah, thanks for having me. And sorry, I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, did I just derail us with our Halloween talk?
Yeah.
No. You know what's funny is
we don't.
Yeah, this podcast is there is no rail. We just the whole purpose of the whole thing is just to when we get a guest on is to just start talking about things we like,
right,
and then continue talking about things we like.
Yeah.
So occasionally there's a point, but not often.
Good.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. So like the crux of this podcast is what's your bacon. We consider bacon to be one of the greatest things ever.
Yeah,
if not the greatest thing ever.
Absolutely.
And it just makes your life better. It enriches your life.
It makes every meal better.
Yeah.
So what's that thing in your life?
So we just kind of like we hang out and we talk with our guests about things that make their life better. I mean, we speak to people all the time. Like we had Allie from Artist and Allie. She's a podcaster. Mm-hmm. She's a photographer for like bands and stuff like that. And she's getting into stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
She's just getting into it. She's in the DC comedy scene. I'm pretty sure that's a rough crowd.
It's actually a pretty decent scene though. That's one of those, like, you as a comedian, you just kind of know which across the country are the good scenes, and the ones that have good reputations, obviously.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Like as musicians, like as a touring musician, we have the same thing, like I know that if I'm on tour, when I hit like certain spots in Ohio, if I hit Canton, Ohio, or I hit Dayton, Ohio, crowds are going to be awesome. Right. I know that if I hit Detroit, Michigan, crowds are going to be awesome. Where, like, if you had to pick like the top 2 or 3, I don't want you to narrow it down to one because that's impossible. But like, where do you like when you see your itinerary, you're like, oh, sweet, this is going to be a great show. Yeah. Like, where do you know?
Portland, Oregon is great. Is a fantastic. They're like San Francisco. That's where I started comedy, was in San Francisco, and they were great for a while. And then just, there's just been a little bit of a culture change over the past 15 years or so with Silicon Valley kind of taking a much bigger role on that. So it's kind of.
Do they have less of a sense of humor?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it used to be. It was the opposite way. They've kind of went opposite way. Their pendulum has swung. It used to be so like crazy that you could make fun of anything. Like it didn't matter. Like. How far you went, how crazy you thought, everyone could laugh at themselves. Now it's gone the other way, a little PC kind of thing where they're like, whoa, you can't talk about anything, like any of this stuff.
Super lame then.
Yeah, but so Portland is still like that a lot. The Midwest is great, just in general. Chicago, Minneapolis is fantastic. So those would be my big 3. I think Chicago, Minneapolis, and Portland, Oregon.
Nice. Yeah. Now that's an interesting thing with comedy, because that's different from music. Because music is just, it's just entertaining. You're not gonna, unless you say the wrong thing in between songs, you're not gonna offend anybody. You're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like people are going and they know what they're getting. So for me, always, and whether this is a controversial take or not. I don't really care. I always thought, to me, like comedy, it's either all okay or none of it's okay. You can't be in between with that.
Yeah.
And so when I see people like having problems with comedians, it always kind of just like makes me curious. I'm just kind of like, I don't get it, because I'm like, if you're a comedian, you should be pushing every envelope that you decide you want to push. And if you're a fan of comedy, you should be open to hearing whatever the hell the comedian wants to say.
Right.
And that should be sacred. That should be it.
That's the whole point of it.
You know, like nothing outside of that should even count. But as a touring comedian, have you found it like, is it limiting now? Is it, do you have to think about what your set's going to be from show to show now more than you did before? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, that's definitely a thought. Like, again, I haven't run into any trouble, but it's definitely in the back of my mind whenever I go to a show now, and you know, you tell one joke and you can kind of feel pull back, if people pull back or something, and then it makes you start thinking about another joke that, you know, it goes even further later in your set or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely a thing. And again, listen, you know, the cancel culture stuff that's out there. And again, I don't know that how much of it is real, or if it's just, you know, big stars are the people that get canceled and stuff like that. And I know there's a little backlash against it, that people are saying, oh, no one's getting canceled. These, but there are people that have
there's a lot of people do. There's people losing gigs.
There's people losing things. Yeah. And they're like, you know, so yeah.
If you lose one job, that matters. That counts.
So it's definitely a thought, and it's probably putting a little stranglehold on the people who don't have as big a power of, let's say, a guy like Chappelle or Bill Burr, that can roll with the punches like that on that stuff. It's probably making comedians write a little differently than they would normally. So yeah, I don't like that. I think your approach is exactly the right one. Just be all in, like, and let's never, intention matters. If someone's trying to make you laugh, let's never get too offended about that. If someone's serious about what they're saying and it's offended, then sure, then let's say, hey, there's a problem that you really believe this. But if they're trying to make you laugh, I mean, well,
I feel like there's a clear difference between
there's
are you preaching to me, or are you cleverly making jokes, or are you drawing attention to something? And also, if you draw attention to something, well, and it bothers me, isn't that my job to look at myself then, like, instead of look at you?
Right.
Like, isn't that what it's for?
Yeah.
Like, that's what comedians have been forever. They've been that spotlight. They've been that, like, hey, are you guys looking at things this way? We're a creative light that allows you to, one, laugh at yourself, but two, learn about yourself. And shouldn't you be pushing those boundaries? Isn't that the job? Isn't that the thing?
Right.
And even as someone like you've been known as a clean comedian, which I think it's weird to differentiate comedians as like clean and blue, and this one's dirty and this one's this. It's comedy. Like, if you're a clean comedian, whatever, that just means that you're making people think in a different way.
Right.
But is it fair for people to dictate how you make them laugh? Like, I don't think it's fair for people to dictate what I can sing about.
Right.
So anytime there's a little bit of that, there's that there's the rebellious side of me that immediately is like, oh, go fuck yourself. But like, you know what I mean? Like, do you fight that? Do you have that when you're planning sets or you're writing jokes or anything? How do you reconcile that with, like, man, do you have that, like, I want to tell these people to go fuck themselves, but I can't? Or there's it's always, you know, gig by gig. And the great thing is that there's different venues, you know what I mean? Like I mentioned, you know, perform at a corporate event. Okay, well then I've signed up for that, so I know that there's probably a lot of restrictions and things I should steer clear of. And of course,
then there's cruises, which are maybe a little more restrictive. And then but I still have comedy clubs, which still to this day, luckily, Every comedy club that I've worked still has that idea of that they're a bastion of free speech, and not even, and I don't even mean it that way in like it's a right or anything like that, but they just have the attitude of like, hey, that's your stage and do whatever you want up there. You can do whatever you want. That's fine. And if the audience wants to pretend to be offended by it, we'll deal with that. But there's never been any restriction put on it by any comedy club. So the great thing is that where you're performing, that I have these different options that go to it. But I think that's the way. In fact, I just made a post, not to brag about my own social media, but it's just because I was thinking about this yesterday. I went out because this is Halloween when we're recording this. My next door neighbor has like these Halloween decorations. There's a Michael Myers with a knife, and then they have a bloody body at his feet, and there's skeletons, and there's blood all over, and there's like all these things and police tape and everything, all of his things, and it's scary as hell if you walk out there at night, and if you're a kid walking by, it's scary. But we know it's Halloween, right? We're all up for this. We've all agreed.
Like that's where we are.
I don't think he likes murderers. I don't think he's satanic. I don't think he's any of this thing. It's Halloween. So same thing at a comedy club with a comedian. You should have this, just like you said, just be all in. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. You're trying to be funny. So just, it's all bets are off. You shouldn't be offended. If you're offended, you're the problem.
Right. Yeah. Right. I feel like if you're offended, you have to look at why you're offended, not look at why someone said what they did.
Yeah.
Why does that bother you? And then go from there. And isn't that the point? Isn't that the whole thing? Like you're out there to entertain people, and like to be good enough to go, okay, this is a corporate event. I'm not going to do these jokes.
Right.
This is a cruise ship. I'm not going to do these jokes. This is a comedy club. I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to try that. Like, shouldn't we want our artists and our comedians to have those skills and be able to do that and be able to navigate those waters? And isn't that what should rise people to the top versus, like, oh, this person doesn't offend anybody. Let's make them something.
Right. Exactly. How vanilla would everything be if that's where if we just kept going down this road, that direction of like,
oh my God,
let's remove everything offensive.
Right. It would suck so bad.
Yeah, it would be awful. Be terrible.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine just being like, no jokes that make you go, oh,
right.
Really?
Yeah, like
cool. Okay.
I love things that make me uncomfortable because they make me think about why am I uncomfortable? That's an interesting thing to now think about, and that's an interesting thing to examine now. And I've learned a lot from comedians that made me that when I heard something and went like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know about that. But then I was like, well, that's not them. That's not on them. That's on me. I'm feeling that. I got to figure that out. I got to figure out why that bothers me,
Yeah. And learn. And why not learn to appreciate something you might not even agree with? I'll give you an example. Like I watch Bill Maher. I'm actually not a fan of Bill Maher himself, but I like his show. I think he's a good ringleader. Like he brings in good guests and they talk about that. But there was one time he had a whole thing on how people who like comic book movies and stuff are idiots, and you should just grow up and get a life because we're made for kids and blah, blah, blah. I disagree completely. I love the comic book superhero movies, but it was one of the greatest 5 minutes of comedy I ever saw. It was just very, very funny. And I don't have to agree with it to be like, well, that's well written and it's funny and you have a viewpoint. You know what I mean? It's someone walking down a road and the funniest home videos, people getting hit in the balls. I don't want to hit anyone in the balls, but I can laugh at it afterwards.
Commercial break.
All right, Jim Z, you think grilling season is over?
Almost, right?
No. Grilling season is never over because of a new sponsor of ours.
Ooh, what is it?
GrillYourAssOff.com.
I love the name already.
Yeah. It's a veteran-owned company that sells spices, barbecue sauces, cool swag, even cookbooks.
Oh, you know what? You sent me a link to that. I checked it out. That was awesome. They had some cool recipes right on their site. That was pretty awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's for free. But now that they're a sponsor, they've decided that if you use the promo code BACON, you get 10% off your order.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm ready. I'm definitely ordering some spices. They had a couple that looked really killer.
Yeah, and it's really, there's so many different selections that there's really a spice for everybody. The guys that are like heat heads, and even the people that just want something subtle, delicious, sweet, whatever it is, they've got something for everybody.
Awesome. Did we order any? Did we have any coming?
We've got some coming.
Nice.
And we're going to do some tasting episodes over on the Patreon.
Awesome. So
with
stick
a little
around.
bit of grill your ass off stuff.
Stick around, everyone, because once we get those in, we're going to taste them, we're going to go through them, and then we're going to let you know what we think and maybe give you some choices that we would kind of go for.
So once again, head over to grillyourassoff.com, use that promo code BACON, and get 10% off.
Sweet.
This is a weird tangent, but my niece said this like 6 months ago, and I don't know if it's a thing. Maybe the listeners had heard it before. She just said this. She goes, "Don't yuck my yum," and I was like,
I like that.
Don't say yuck to the thing that I love. Like, it's my yum. You don't have to like it. So that's the kind of the Scorsese thing. Don't yuck my yum. I love this. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Wow.
I like that.
I like the kid.
I've never heard that either, but that's great.
Yeah.
The damn kids are all saying it.
That's right. We're going to find tomorrow there's T-shirts and everything already out there.
Yeah. It's a TikTok hit.
I agree.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So what I do want to ask, I know when we go to the questions.
Yeah. But
there's a big question so I was taking a defensive driving course, right? And I'm taking a defensive driving course. Thanks, Geico.
Right.
10%.
Right.
And all of a sudden, so a little peek behind the curtain. I knew Steve. We've known each other for a little while. And all of a sudden, I saw Steve on my defensive driving course, and I was like, well, hey. And I immediately, so it was definitely like 2007 Steve Mazan.
Yes, this is why it was at least, I was going to say
it was definitely, because it happened in like 2018, 19 when I saw it. So it was definitely a 2007-ish. And I immediatly messaged you and I was like, hey, you're in my defensive driving course. Please don't suck for the next 4 hours.
Oh, that's great.
How does one get a hosting gig at a defensive driving course?
I can't even remember how, and I can't tell you how many people I have crossed paths with. Probably as many people have remember or say like, oh, I remember you, or I recognize you, you were on Letterman, or I remember that joke you did on Letterman, that kind of thing. More people recognize me from this defensive driving course. So I guess that's just how many bad drivers we have in the country.
You had a lot of reach there, man.
Yeah,
a lot of reach.
Geico makes you pick, and they say, hey, this is a good one. And I said, all right, cool. That's fine. 10% off. I'll do it.
Of course. Why wouldn't you do it? I don't remember what the particulars were, though. I just remember how the guy found me. I mean, I remember the guy who was doing this driving course, and it was associated with the Improv here in with the clubs across the country. I don't think it is now still, but I think he still has the name of Improv Driving Course or something like that. And so they were looking for someone, and the guy said, hey, I think you'd be good for this. Would you come and introduce the segments and then tell some jokes of that thing? And it's one of those. In that point, I think because I was a clean comedian, it couldn't be anything too controversial or edgy,
right,
kind of thing. And I was obviously a younger man with more hair and stuff like that, so I think I was more castable at that point. So, so I think here's a strange story that ended up shooting in Van Nuys, which people in LA know Van Nuys just by saying it. Van Nuys is the porn capital of the world. Probably not anymore because of the ubiquitousness of internet porn and homemade porn, that kind of thing. But the days of it was on VCRs or VHS tapes and that kind of thing. That's the capital. We actually shot it in a porn studio. So I can't remember. I think there was a brick background behind me.
Yes.
Improv.
Yeah.
And then, but if you pan the camera like 45 degrees, it's one of those, like it's a studio. So like this way was an office where they would shoot the office scenes.
Right.
45 more degrees was like a school. 45 more degrees was like a living room where the pizza guy would come and ring the doorbell. So it was just 360 degrees of these different rooms that they would shoot porn in. I guess I would assume there wasn't the improv brick background before that. I've never seen any.
I haven't seen any.
So you're
episodes.
saying on that day, you had the worst gig in that building.
Yes, no one else was there. I was so hoping that there would be some like cross traffic or something like
Right, yeah, like
by 6 because
Wow.
they're coming in at 6 to shoot this. So yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, I no longer speed between red lights because I know that if I maintain a normal speed between lights, I won't get caught at the red light.
Look at that.
I didn't know you were so good at math. And all traffic lights in the world, but
they're all synced. But yeah, so I've sadly been recognized many times from that, where people are like, "Hey, you did my traffic school. You did my traffic school."
Well, that's not sad. That's pretty cool.
That's
like
good. That means that was a good gig. That was
right.
I guess so. It's funny. I got the one thing that stinks about it is because I do get recognized from it still. And again, this is 13, 14 years later. It was a one-time thing, no residuals on it. So when people come up and say, "Oh yeah," I'm like, that thing's still running. And I took like a one-time.
Oh yeah, they ain't gonna pay
small
anybody
paycheck
else.
for it.
Yeah, it's like MTV. They pay you once. They
That's
can use
it.
your shit forever.
Yeah,
So, all right. So that was a good gig.
that's so funny.
Now, I've heard before that your worst gig was a minor league baseball game for the Quakes.
yeah. So
Do you still consider that your worst gig ever, or have you topped it at this point?
I think it's still my worst gig. And again, this doesn't I don't want to single it out like I have lots of good gigs and there's one bad one. There's plenty of awful gigs, but
worst is just worst.
Yeah, it's just one.
Yeah, because sometimes people think like, oh, comedians, they claim they never die, and oh my god, I have so many bombing stories and the things going terrible stories. But the just because the venue of a minor league baseball game is already ridiculous to try stand-up comedy in, and I was standing on the dugout of the visiting players' dugout, and it wasn't
awful.
just like, hey, you want to go do 5 minutes before the game or after the game? No, they wanted me in between each inning. I had to go up.
Yeah.
So by the third, it was going awful immediately. But by the third inning, people would see me climbing up on the dugout, and they'd be like, no, like they were so angry. And I didn't get any laughs. The only laugh I got was my friend had come with me because they were giving us free food. I don't even think I got paid for it. I can't remember what I think we got the
snow
game.
cones and a hot dog.
Right. I do remember the food was pretty good at this minor league baseball game. But I could just hear my friend laughing. And of course it wasn't the laughter of like, I'm enjoying your jokes. I'm laughing at how bad this is going. And
Right.
laugh,
Like, this is great for me.
This is
For
very
me,
much the laughs that we would give each other. at a
Right,
bad game.
yeah.
exactly. That a good friend. So yeah, just his roaring, like how bad it is. And at one point, so they called it quits after the fourth inning. It was supposed to be every inning until the seventh when they did the take me out to the ball game. But it was going so bad they called it after the fourth. But I think it was that inning that as they were coming off, I was doing so bad I thought maybe I could just improv or something or talk. So I said something about like, hey, let's give it up for the players coming off or something like that. And as they came off, the pitcher for that team just looked at me and he goes, and gives me the finger. He gave me like, so like I was looking for any like, kind of life ring to help me out.
Any reinforcement whatsoever.
And yeah,
it
the
was the
opposite.
finger.
He was like, no, I'm hating you too.
Well, it was a visiting team. so,
Everybody
like,
hates you.
He was the
Everybody
visitor.
hates you.
Yeah. I think he was getting shelled, so he wasn't a good man.
So,
Yeah,
like, having lived with a couple of budding stand-up comedians,
Yeah.
I learned like really quickly that like bombing was actually a good thing. because you learned so much from it, and you could pivot from it, and you could reorganize your jokes and rewrites and things like that. So it was cool to me because as a musician, like when you're writing, like if you bomb, it's almost like, well, I'm never going to play that song ever again. But it seemed like with comedians, it was like, okay, where did it go wrong? What happened? What was the thing? And I noticed my roommate that I had for a long time, his name's Jesse Joyce. If you check him out, jessejoyce.com, Joyce to the World. He's got a record. He's got a CD out. He's very funny, really good, awesome guy. But one thing that he always told me was, he was like, well, sometimes it's like when you're bombing, you do that pivot and then you figure out what your line really is, or you find out what where the joke actually happens. So I found that interesting. And so like anytime I get to talk to comics, one of the things that I do ask is like, do you have like in your memory, do you have like this recovery from this, here's where this joke was really bombing, and because it was bombing, I pivoted, and this is how I made it work, and that made it a great joke, and that's what I continue with now. Do you have stuff like that, or do you have one that you
I can't think of one specific like that, but yeah, I think he's right in that thing that you do learn. And I think probably as musicians, you probably get the same thing, especially the performance aspect of it, right? Like just sometimes like, I always phrase it like this, like the audience, I think, tells comics what's funny about them. Like rather than, that's how I always think of it. Like I'm up there and I'm throwing stuff out to them, like, but they're going to tell me what they think is funny about me. You know what I mean? So especially at the beginning, it's a learning process. Like you go up with, and you think like, everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to go up on stage, it's going to be great. And it's not, especially at the beginning. It's such a hard thing to learn. But it is learning that, like what the audience, it is that pivot that you learn stuff on. It's like, okay, well, maybe I'll try this different joke, because that I won't do anything more when you're bombing. The thing I love about comedy is all the things that can run in through your head at the same time. And I'm sure music is the same way. Like you can think about how the last joke went. Right. That's still in your head. You're thinking about delivering the joke that you're doing right now, and the facial expressions and the movements that go with it. And you're also thinking about like, well, this isn't going well, so I need to maybe not do that joke I was planning next. Right. And so
where do I pivot to? What do I do next instead? How much of a comedy show is what you've planned versus what you like on the fly change? How often does that happen?
I'd say on a good one, it's usually like maybe 75-25, like 75% plan, and then there's
really that much. Oh wow, cool. Okay.
I usually have this is how I want it to go when I step on stage. I have my plan of it, but especially when it's bombing, it goes much further the other way. As much as 99% is unplanned. Like, okay, I'm just reaching for things like
what's going to make them laugh?
12 years ago, something's got to work here. Like, you're just grasping at straws, and then every now and then, there is like a lifeboat like that. Like you're like, oh, they actually responded to that, or they enjoy if I interact with them more than just kind of stand here. Or sometimes it's simple little things that taking the mic out of the stand, or the opposite. Sometimes a lot of times an audience, the people in the lights I catch a lot, like that are in the spill of the stage lights. Mm-hmm. They tend to like not laugh as much as people in the dark. Like I think it becomes like they feel like they're on stage. So you have to interact with them a little differently. So it is those little things of bombing helps you learn those things, because it is an abnormal thing to get up on stage in front of strangers.
Oh, so, definitely.
I've never really like thought about that too, and honestly, it definitely applies to us. Is like you said, where the spill comes out, you see a little bit of the crowd, and those people feel as if they need to act differently than people behind them. That's I never even thought of that.
I've always found that you don't necessarily, you have to acknowledge the people that are front row, but you don't play to the people that are front row.
Right.
You play to the people that are third, fifth, seventh row, while acknowledging front row, because front row's in your spot.
For us,
regardless.
especially, they're like our people.
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah, usually right up at the front. And a lot of times, just depending on how the stage works and everything, the people in the dark can see those people. So you want them to look like they're having fun too. So
Right.
because they're what's being shown as well.
Well,
So,
yeah, half the time. Yeah, you gotta like. I find that as a musician, once you get one person that's moving or dancing or screaming or involving themselves in what you're doing, the more comfortable everybody else around them is in involving themselves too.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to get that one person first, and then once you get them, then you're good for the rest of the show, because nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of a thing. Is it kind of the same thing, or?
Yeah. And in fact, that's in the bombings. that's one of the probably I guess strategies that pays off the most. It's like, okay, there's 200 people right now not enjoying me.
Right.
Maybe I can focus on one table or something, and if you can get them and just change your approach, you got to change things drastically. So it is that thing where you if you're standing, maybe you sit and you let them come to you, just something that feels different all of a sudden than what you were doing. And you just focus on one table. If you can get one table to laugh, it usually does start a roll like that, where it'll start spilling then, and you can turn the bus around before it goes over the bridge to a whole hour of nothing. So yeah, that is one of the things. It is a mob mentality. It really is. So it one table, or that's why a heckler can add so much to a show. Both ways. It can ruin the show, but it can also, there's many times when you deal with a heckler and then people come up afterwards and they're like, God, that was my favorite part of the show. I wish you would have just kept going on about that.
Torn them apart.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, well, all right. Yeah. I could see how that was, fun to watch, but an hour of it would be.
But it was agonizing for me.
Right, exactly. And it's precarious. You feel like you're on a tightrope. Like, am I going to say something too harsh, and then everyone's gonna be like, "Whoa, you went too far!" Like,
right.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel at the beginning like, holy shit, is this guy gonna get me?
Every single time that I have to deal with them,
because you can't ever be. You always have to be better than the heckler.
Yeah.
And you know what? People are funny. People are mean. People are fucked up. Like I've met people where I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I'm not in a thing with you right now, because you're 100%, quick and you're funny and you're mean,
but you're also an awful person.
Right. Yeah. But you suck.
Quick
Ever
with your
come
words,
to one of my shows?
Yeah, they're usually drunk, so there's no shame. Like it's
right.
Like, a lot of times, even if you take them down, there's no shame. That doesn't, the crowd's with you then, but a lot of times they don't feel bad, so they just keep coming back. Or if there's some sexism to it as well. That if I take a guy heckler down hard, people are happy. If you go too harsh on a woman, everyone's like, "Oh, whoa, what are you doing there, buddy?"
Right. Yeah, back off, dude.
Dude, she's a woman. You can't say, So
right.
It's precarious. Yeah.
Do you like? If you had your choice, would you rather a show be like completely go according to plan based on what you planned out from beginning, or would you rather have to shift in the middle? Like I know that can be weird.
Yeah.
But what would your preferred show be?
Yeah.
I think if you asked me before the show, I would say I want it to be 100% what I planned going up.
Right.
But the ones I remember the most are the ones where there is some kind of, something that throws me off my game a little. And I'm not talking about a heckler, not like that, but just someone's laughing so hard or something that you have to start talking to them and you're like, oh my God, like you really enjoy that. And you get some story out of them, or, I don't know, something strange just happens. Sometimes there's, as much as like someone like, I've had it where, someone has not like a heart attack, but someone gets injured, they fall in the back and you have to deal with that kind of stuff. Or, a waitress is, does something. So I always go in with the full plan, and I would say that's how I want it to go. But the great shows always do have some X factor that you never planned on.
All right. We got to pay some bills.
We do.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We do.
We have to pay
I
some bills.
owe you guys money? I
Well,
don't understand what happened.
we get to pay some bills because we have some really cool sponsors.
Yes.
And
Okay.
so we take a little bit out of each show to acknowledge one of our sponsors, and that sponsor is a company called Poddex.
Yes.
And if you go to poddex.com, well, what they do is they create these card sets. And I'm holding one up right now. I'm holding the "How Dare You" card set, and if you can,
fathead,
if you see it, it looks like
I think
an old timey popcorn box. But what it is they create decks of interview questions, icebreakers, topics for podcasts. It's all for budding podcasters and new people that might not be able to just rattle off a million.
They don't have
questions.
verbal diarrhea like we do.
Yeah, like you said, like that type of thing. But they also have some really fun, like interesting questions, not only for podcasters, but like if you're just someone that likes to play games like Cards Against Humanity or things like that. They're very cool if you're a bartender and you want to have stuff at the bar to hand out to people or to put out on the bar so that it's like,
Oh, that's cool.
conversation starters, things like that.
Yeah.
So what we do is we like to invite our guest to pick a deck and then answer a random question from that deck. So
Yes.
Mike is going to let you know what those decks are.
So they have the episode deck. Don't choose that one. The interview deck, interview deck 2. They have What the Heck, Would You Rather, and then the 2 new ones, the How Dare You, and then also the What the they used to be like more PG, but now all of a sudden they put this WTF deck out.
Yeah.
I tried to answer a question to my kids, and
Right.
I read the question. I was like, I'm not asking them. I'm not answering it.
I would
Yeah.
It's bad. So
I would have answered it.
yeah, well,
I don't have kids.
You don't have you don't have kids, so that doesn't matter to you. So Steve, which deck would you like?
I like what I think it's the what the deck. Is it the white one with the red? That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah.
That's
So
fun,
this
yeah.
is actually blue. It's got the old school.
Oh, all right, yeah,
branding.
upside down, like kind of MTV logo.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the old school MTV branding is clutch on this.
Now Mike's gonna shuffle these. Steve, I know that in another life you would be a Vegas dealer, and Mike is gonna do his best to do a shuffle. I lived in Vegas. I cannot shuffle.
That's crazy that you. I
that
thought
is
you
my
had
lot
to do
in
that to
life.
get your driver's license there.
You know what I can do is I can serve drinks. I did that well in Vegas.
Speaking of which, can you pour me one?
I can pour you another one. And while I'm saying that, and Mike is shuffling, I will say that if you go to poddex.com and you like that cover, the MTV logo takeoff of the What the Fuck deck, you can actually get that in a t-shirt, lots of other merch, and
lots of cool swag.
Oh,
cool swag over there. Plus all the decks, they have different like box sets of things.
And as a company, they're overall just cool as shit.
Yeah, they really are. They their owner will email you to thank you about getting a deck,
that's awesome.
and you can email him back, and he'll have a conversation with you. It's not just all forum stuff, but also if you're there and you make decide to make a purchase, you can use the promo code
Bacon.
Yeah, and get 10% off your entire order. And that helps the show. It helps us keep the show free and all that kind of fun stuff. And it's just, like we said, a cool company, and it's cool stuff, regardless of whether you have a podcast or not. So let's do this.
So what we do here is we're going to fan this out.
Okay.
He's going to fan it out while I'm also getting ice for our drinks right now. So Mike, just keep talking. Just
Okay,
explain
so
stuff.
I'm going to fan this out, and then I'm going to move my finger from my left or your right to my right and your left, and you just tell us when to stop.
Okay.
He's going all the way to the end, isn't he?
Fucking comedians, man.
All the way to the end, isn't he? Dead air is bad on radio and podcasting.
Obviously, you haven't listened to my podcast.
We've
listened.
We've listened. Part of the way through.
It's
I'm just kidding. No. We've listened. We've listened for sure. We've got some questions about that.
Yes.
all right.
All right. Go ahead.
All right.
You go and take this one.
Your question. Oh, all right.
This is a good one.
Interesting one. Steve,
Mhm.
can you do any tricks with your tongue?
No. Wait. I mean, listen, lame tricks like I could do, because I guess
That's a trick.
That's
if you
a
went
trick.
back right, evolutionary wise, like
Definitely not a treat.
there was a caveman. There was a caveman that was like, "Hey, look at this, ladies."
Right.
And, like, he was the first one that did it. Now that we can all do it, it's yeah. But no, I can't do the. I know some people can do the tie the cherry thing in a knot, the stem. But yeah, that's as
the
good.
wave of three. That's another one.
Yeah.
He can weave a web of hilarity.
Yeah.
That's what he can do with his tongue.
I can talk. God damn it.
That's right. That's right. The first person to go was like the leader.
Yeah.
Became the leader because of that. That was the quality that was like, we shall follow you.
Something else that you should all follow is Mazan Movie Club.
Dude,
it's a fun podcast.
that segue was amazing.
Yeah,
That was a good. Yeah. I was like, whoa.
That's what I do.
Wow.
That's what I
Wow.
do here.
That's
I
an
direct the
impressive
ship.
trick with your tongue.
Mm.
See, this guy, he comes up with the
fantastic.
good stories, the good questions, and I go, we're steering the ship this way.
Yeah.
You are the pilot, sir.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
All right. Continue. Sorry, I just
No,
had to
no,
marvel
fine.
at the amazingness
You do
of that.
you do
segue,
digress.
of that sieg.
Of Sieg. No, so Mazan Movie Club, like you said in the 7 questions, it's a lot like a book club.
Yeah.
But instead, you pick a movie. A lot of times it's on Netflix, which is
Yep.
pretty awesome. So this way everybody can interact.
Mm-hmm.
And then you let people send things in on your social media, on the social media for the podcast and stuff like that. It's a really, really awesome concept. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. What made that a thing?
Yeah, so you're talking just about like the bacon being your thing. Like comedy, obviously, is what I made my career. But I find myself and again, I'm sure it was with you guys. Last time I saw you guys in person, if we're talking for an hour or sitting down at dinner, at least 4 or 5 times in that hour, I'm going to naturally steer the conversation, not purposely. It just naturally steers to movies somehow.
Yeah.
A movie I saw, a quote, a movie, someone will say a quote, or I'll say, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of that movie, blah, blah, blah. Like that's how it's happening anyway. So I found myself talking about movies 75% of my life anyway. So I finally was like, maybe I should just start a podcast since I'm talking about this anyways. Hit the record button. And then my mom is part of a book club. So I thought, it could be set up like that. That's how, just like a book club. I'll pick a movie each week. And rather than it being a new movie, like that people got to go to the theater to, I'll pick movies we've all seen or we'd be happy to rewatch. So my initial thought was to count down the top 100 movies on IMDb.
Okay.
So I did that. I went through, and then after that, I went through the top 100 movies on the American Film Institute's list of the top 100 movies of all time, kind of the critics' choice of them. And there's some crossover between those two lists. And then once the pandemic hit and a lot of people were out of work, I decided to kind of make it more democratic in that way that how about I pick something, since people were not working a lot, that was somewhat free. Obviously Netflix isn't free.
Right.
The movie they could watch on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something that was relatively free that everyone had versus saying Shawshank, you got to go spend $9 and rent it or something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we're probably close to 250 movies now, and it's been going for 4 or 5 years, so it's one a week. And like you said, everyone, when I announce the movie each week, I have some games that I run where I have people try and guess the movie early in the week.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like your hints that you put out for the movie. You got some really good ones. It's like one is like, here's a wood background. What's the movie? Or here's a weird quote. Or like here's quotes from 3 of the main actors in the movie, but they're not from the movie. What's the movie? Like I found those to be great.
I like the obscure or the what do they call them? The variant
minimalist posters.
Minimalist posters. Those are really cool too.
So there's a great one. One of my favorites, actually, we were talking about Big Lebowski earlier. That's one of my favorite. The minimalist poster is like it's a wood floor.
Yeah, you had the wood floor.
Where the rug
should have been.
Yeah,
it really tied the room together.
Yeah. So it's awesome. It's got even a little spill on it where the pee stain was, and
where Wu peed on the rug.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I love these little games to start the week. Have people guess the movies, and then people once as the week goes on, people start chiming in, and I don't just. And again, it's almost like a book club in that way that there's so many memories associated with movies, right? Like your favorite movie, you probably remember where you saw it, who you saw it with, those kind of things. So that becomes one of my favorite things.
Don't go away. We'll be back right after these messages.
You love your weekly dose of bacon as my podcast, but you need even more bacon. Well, just go over to baconismypodcast.com. You can engage even more with us over there. It's a pathway to our music, extra content, our social media pages. Most importantly, grab yourself some pretty sweet swag and put it all over your body parts. Again, that's baconismypodcast.com. Listen to some tunes, pick up some merch, and tell us, what's your bacon? I know that like you've said in interviews in the past that like you would do like a horror movie if you could like come back and do a movie. Is that your favorite genre, or do you have a favorite genre? Or
I mean, it's hard to pick one, but I would guess horror probably ends up being my favorite just because I enjoy even the bad horror films. You know what I mean? Like anytime I see a horror movie, even if it's terrible and I walk out knowing it was terrible, I still kind of had a good time. Whereas if I go and see a serious movie and it sucks, I'm like, oh, geez, that was a waste. Or a bad comedy. You think something.
Nothing's worse to me than a bad comedy.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. Like a bad horror is a good comedy.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Like horror can change genres just like that. Yeah, you're right.
Intentionally or not. Yes. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I love that stuff.
What would you call a good horror, and what would you call a good horror because it's so bad it turned into something else for you?
All right, this is an interesting one because I obviously see a lot of movies, but I love that the blind spots people have sometimes too. Again, I watched just in the past 5 years. I've probably watched a couple movies a week, but just for the podcast, I've watched 250 plus movies now.
Right.
That I had seen before. But Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time. I think The Shining is probably as good as it gets as far as a film that is in the horror genre. I love the new It, the first one, not It Part 2.
Okay.
That was terrible, but the first one was fantastic with the kids. But a bad one, I'll give you one that I just saw. I can't believe it. It's given me this long to say. I just saw Tremors this week, the movie Tremors.
For the first time?
How I had missed Tremors. It's so fun, and I don't know that it's kind of scary. It's a horror. It's a monster movie, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun, and it's
almost a kaiju. It's almost a horror.
Yeah. It's really
That's Kevin Bacon.
It is Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, we got bacon in it. Right.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's awesome.
So,
do you have like a favorite bad horror movie? Or one that keeps coming up for you?
I mean,
and we'll see if Steve has seen it.
I'm always about all the original Friday the 13th movies. So,
why'd you put that in quotes?
Original, like I don't know, because
they did do a remake, right? Yeah,
right.
They did, but
that's not the original.
Well, people take issue with Jason Goes to New York, or
as they should.
What do you mean? That's great. It's so good. It's a comedy.
I mean, it's better than Jason Goes to Space, but it's
Well, Jason Goes to Space. My favorite part in that movie is when he takes a camper or a hologram camper.
right.
There's the quotes again.
Yeah. But they're an actual okay.
and they put it into a sleeping bag.
Yep.
And then beat another one with it. Come on.
I believe he
That's
did
great.
that in the third one as well. Like he beat another camper with someone in a sleeping bag. I love the Friday the 13th movies.
I love them all. Those are my favorite.
But yeah, that's a good one. Jason Takes New York is definitely like
The dude went from Crystal Lake.
right.
Who knows where it is?
Yeah.
But that lake connects to the Hudson River,
Right. Right.
which is right outside New York City.
New York City. He's
And-
there.
Yeah, that
He's
makes
there.
sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Absolutely makes sense.
Geographically,
Yeah.
sure.
Mine is the B movie. And Steve, let me know if you've ever seen this.
Yeah.
Night of the Creeps. And
No.
I've brought this up
You
a
brought this
number
up
of
earlier.
times. Because Night of the Creeps is so great because it's like slugs from outer space that when someone is scared because they zombify somebody and they scream, their mouth is open and the slug jumps from another mouth into their mouth. And that's how they spread. And I found that to be just fantastic
Mhm.
when I was younger. I that was one of my favorite B horror movies of all
Yeah.
time. And I love those. I love those old grindhouse films.
Yeah.
There's something about them that I like. I love the campiness. I love the bad effects. I'm a huge fan of the Corridor Crew YouTube channel where they go through all the visual effects and they tell like how it was done and how bad it is and stuff. I think it's just amazing. So I'm another one that like horror films, man.
Yeah.
They just become something else, you know.
It is. That's what I mean. It's the fun genre of it all. That it's even. You got to take big swings, I guess. In it is what makes it fun. You can see the ambition even in the bad ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love bad horror movies. The
Do you guys have
Friday
a?
the 13th and that other thing, the Nightmare on Elm Street. That's like
Those are great horror movies. Don't ever
Those
say
are
those
my-
are bad more horror movies.
Yeah.
Steve, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say that's what I like. Horror movies are all a guilty pleasure a little bit. Again, every
Right,
once in a while
yeah.
you run into a great horror movie, but they're so seldom. But do you have a movie? I always ask on the podcast when I have new guests, like, is there a bad movie you love? Like Urban Cowboy is my guilty pleasure, and I don't feel guilty about it at
Yeah.
all. Honestly, like, I'll catch myself trying to convince people that it's as good as any Western that's ever been made, like any
Right.
John, Wayne, well thought of movie. How about that? Do you have a movie is bad but you still
Man,
love?
I don't know, because any movie that I really like that other people don't like, I still don't think is bad. Like I love Drop Dead Gorgeous.
oh, okay.
And I don't know if people think that's a bad movie, but I think it's a great movie.
I haven't
No,
seen
that's a good
who's in
movie.
that. That's not Sally Field. either.
Kirsten Dunst is in it. It's a lot of the people that are in like the Best in Show and Spinal Tap. It's very
okay.
it's
Yeah.
done like one of those mockumentary type
Yeah.
shows, but it's for pageants, like
Yes.
pageant girls and stuff. And I think that movie is hilarious. Best in Show is another one. Like I love those
So good.
Christopher Guest movies. Like I think those are fantastic. I don't know if they're seen as bad movies,
I don't know.
but they're not
I don't,
as much.
I don't hate
Right.
them. They're just not like revered movies. Like
Right.
movies that are just
But
Yeah.
they like, I will laugh out loud by myself in a room like a crazy person watching those movies.
Yeah,
Because like certain little but the things that make me laugh are like are the things that aren't the payoff joke. It's like the
short
side
jabs.
thing. Yeah, it's like those things make me laugh. Like in Best in Show, like at the beginning of the movie where one of the characters says he has 2 left feet, And then at the end of the movie, when he has to walk the dog and his knee is shaking, and they're like, I believe he has 2 left feet. Like that payoff for me, just like, I'm just like, like I'm in hysterics because of it. Like those things. Or in Drop Dead Gorgeous, they all get poisoned by shellfish. Yeah. And there's like a dude at the end, and his one line is like, fucking prom queens just puking everywhere. Like that just cracks me up. And it's one of those things, man. Like it's those.
I think for me, oh, man, it's got to be Ghostbusters too. Because, because I liked it. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, no. But you know what? I knew somebody that had a Vigo picture over their dining room.
That's an awesome person, just in general. Yeah.
Yeah. The first time I saw a friend of mine, actually, he walked around with like the picture of Vigo over his head, and his face was painted like Vigo. And I was like, I popped. I was like, I was wrestling like full on, like, yes. So yeah, Ghostbusters 2 is like panned hardcore, but I like it.
That's a good guild. I haven't seen Drop Dead Gorgeous, so I can't make any assumptions or guesses on it. But I've seen Ghostbusters 2, and I that's a good guilty pleasure because I don't think it's a good movie, but yeah.
What's yours, Steve? Do you have one?
Urban Cowboy is a big one. Like I said, that comes up often.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, because it's probably not good, but I like I said, I think it's better than it probably gives credit. Where you just see someone sometimes defending like a Thomas Kincaid painting or something, and you're like, it's terrible. Like you're like, no, but look, isn't it gorgeous? And it's like, that's how I feel. Like, Urban Cowboy. I'm like, no, it's really good, and it's saying some important things. I'm talking in a wrong, talking about it in a wrong way that it was never intended for. But I see something in it. Yeah.
Does Raising Arizona count as one of those?
Oh no,
because that's great.
No, it's great.
Right? Is there a movie that is universally loved that you think is kind of crap?
I on my one of the guests almost every week on my podcast, my mom chimes in. She's 82 years old, and I besides making her watch a movie each week and chime in, she does like a couple minutes where she'll tell me her thoughts. I also have a segment where the viewers come up with the adult film titles for us. Like Forrest Gump becomes Forrest Rump, but Batman, Buttman, that kind of stuff. And I make my mom judge those. But just to torture her.
His mom, who he cockblocked once, and we'll just leave it there.
Yes. This is another story. Next appearance. She, I get her point. 2001, which is thought of as like a top 20 movie of all time. I get it. I like it, and I understand as I hear other people talk about what they see in it. But it's. God, is there long periods of just boringness and just I can see why someone would hate that movie. Like she was angry about it. She was very mad that I forced her to waste 2+ hours of her life. And so I get that. And there are I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are movies I've come across where I'm like, this just isn't good. Like I don't understand why people are so an Emperor's New Clothes kind of thing.
Okay. How about you?
Ooh, awful movies.
Ugh. Well, they don't have to be awful, but just something that everybody likes that you're just kind of like, I don't like it.
Yeah, you got me on the spot here. I couldn't pull one right away.
I'm going to say a controversial answer.
Yeah,
definitely. I don't like Airplane.
Whoa.
I don't.
Steve,
I don't like Airplane. I'm sorry. I don't like it. I don't think it's funny. Nothing makes me laugh. It never did. Nothing ever made me laugh. Now, it's not those style of movies.
Did you see like Airplane 2 or 3 or 4?
Yes, I did. I've watched them all.
Why?
But like
one is a good one.
Well, it's better than those. Yeah. Oh. But like I like movies like I love Spaceballs. I love Spinal Tap. I love the Naked Gun movies. I love and those are those kind of movies that kind of like the slapsticky kind of stuff. Airplane, I I don't find it as funny as everybody does.
All right. So actually, something did come up at work this week. Any of the Friday sequels?
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been
Friday.
made. Right. Yeah.
Friday was the only
Friday was excellent.
Next Friday, Friday after next? No.
Right.
So yeah. Okay.
That might have
That's
been,
my answer.
That might have beat Ron Burgundy to the punch with we didn't need a sequel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, Steve. Well, we know you got to go.
Yeah.
But please tell everybody where they can find you, your podcast, and all of the things.
And what you're up to.
Yes. Well, first of all, let me say thanks for having me. This was a blast. And again, we were talking about movies. I could talk with you guys for another hour. So I hope to be back sometime.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll
always.
definitely do it again.
Yes, you can find me. My website is stevemazan, MAZAN.com. But more importantly, probably the better place is to find me on social media. I'm on Facebook. I still have plenty of friends to make on there. I'm not at my limit. So find me on there, Steve Mazan. I'm on Instagram at Steve Mazan, Twitter, same thing. And the podcast I have is the Mazan Movie Club, and the Facebook is kind of the center of that, but Instagram as well, where I play a lot of the games and stuff about the movies of the week. So would love to share thoughts on movies and stuff with your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Definitely jump on there and check it out and hang out and interact, because Steve is always very good about interacting with the people on his social media. And like he said, the whole show is based around like the first 20 minutes of it is you guys,
all you guys
talking about it. So it's pretty awesome. And he's a funny guy.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you get in trouble, find my traffic school too.
Yeah.
Right. Also,
Geico Improv.
Also find him on Geico Improv. Yep.
Yeah. Make sure you do it. It is the most tolerable of all the 4-hour or 6-hour courses, whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah. The cream of the crap.
Yes. And if don't go there first, or don't judge my comedy from the traffic school, please.
There's more recent things.
There's better stuff. Yes, I approve.
Yeah. So make sure you check out Steve Mazan, and make sure you always ask yourself the all-important question.
Yeah, every day, at least once.
What's your bacon?
What's your bacon?
Steve is great.
Yeah.
Steve's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of laughs with Steve as an audience member,
right?
As a person that is sit across from him at a dinner table.
Yes,
that's been an interesting thing.
Was it weird? Was it weird for you, knowing it as well as you know him, talking to him in this setting?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. No, like we talked about the backstory and how I know him and all that stuff. And,
right.
No, like you treat the interview the way you would any interview. And that's just the way we do things. Mm-hmm. It's very much just conversation. It's a conversation with people that you enjoy having conversation with. Granted, I've had conversations with him before, but even the people that I didn't know before, you just have a conversation with them. You find your common interests. We were lucky enough to know our common interests prior. Right. So that created tangents and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, no.
Yeah, that's cool. I wondered that because, like I've only met him once. I only got the experience
okay.
once to like sit across the dinner table and hang out with him and hang out in the audience with him. And I very briefly talked to him. You just kind of introduced me to him and stuff. But I know that you've had many conversations with him. So that was just interesting to me. Like, hey, was this different for you at all? Which is cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Super glad we got him on. Finally. Eventually we're going to have an in-person thing. And one day you're going to catch us on Mazan Movie Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be really cool.
In the meantime, where can they find you and
Me.
whatever you're doing?
Me?
Yeah.
I personally am at Me My Own Self Mike on all of the social media platforms, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and my other thing that I do is called Something Heavy.
Mm.
It is a band, and we play songs that perhaps are heavy.
Perhaps.
At Something Heavy Music on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can also catch some pretty sweet music at Bacon Is My Podcast. Oh, no. Bacon Is My Passion.
Well, on the Spotify, you can find Bacon Is My Passion as a band.
Apple Music.
But if you go to baconismypodcast.com, you can find all that stuff as well.
Yes, you can.
As well as Bacon Is My Fashion, where you can get some cool swag.
Yes.
T-shirts and the
Jimsy.
like.
Jimsy,
Yes, sir.
if people were to look for you personally, where could they find you?
Well, you could find me
That's
personally,
Oh, sorry.
personally, Jimmy G Shoes at Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
You can find me there. And my band, Craving Strange, is at cravingstrange.net. And from there, you can find links to all of our social medias and all of our stuff. So, and really, if you just put Craving Strange in your Google machine, you can find us all over the place.
Yeah.
So, definitely check that out. Check out Something Heavy. And check out Bacon Is My Podcast if you are interested in the whole Patreon thing and you want to help out the show. Please jump on patreon.com/Bacon Is My Podcast. We do some cooking shows. We do some shows where we eat horrible things and react to it. All kinds of fun stuff like that. And we interact. We do live stuff, live music. You get all kinds of extra stuff.
Yeah.
So check that out. See if you like it. If you want to do it, become a BIMP Squad member.
Yeah,
and,
man.
We
Absolutely.
eternally appreciate you. Thank you so much for supporting our sponsors, Poddex, GrillYourAssOff.com, and Wild Bills, DrinkWildBills.com, Wild Bills sodas and snacks. We do have a sponsor page on the website, so if you check there, you can see all of our sponsors up to our most current, and you can see all the deals that you can get. Thank you guys so much for listening. We do appreciate you. We do appreciate it. And
make sure you give those 5-star reviews.
Exactly. That was my next thing that I was going to say. Yeah. 5-star reviews on the Apple.
Yeah, on the Apple.
Share us on the Spotify.
On the Spotify. Follow us.
Yeah.
All those little things actually do count.
Yeah, they really do help because all those sites are built to work against you unless you pay money. And we don't want to pay money and we don't want you to pay money. So
Agreed.
Help us keep it free.
Let's do it.
And remember to ask yourself every day the most important thing out of all this. If you're going to figure anything out, figure out exactly
What's your bacon?
what's your bacon.
We are